Hello and welcome to another episode of What the Feminism. I'm so excited for this episode and also a bit scared because in this episode I will be talking about the election manifesto of the Bharatiya Janata Party or the BJP. For those of you who live under a rock, it is election season in India and these elections are considered extremely important since the BJP is hoping to win a third successive term. But opposition parties say Indians face the loss of many freedoms if they stay in power. Coming back to the episode, today we'll discuss about Nari-Shakti, the BJP slogan on women empowerment. What has the BJP actually done about it in the last 10 years? What is it promising next? What does Hindutva, the BJP's ideology, actually mean for women in India? Let's get started. Page 19 of the party's manifesto talks about Nari-Shakti. The first point mentions the Lakhpati Didi scheme, claiming to have enabled the creation of 1 crore Lakhpati Didis, or women whose household income exceeds 1 lakh per year. This achievement is attributed to the efforts of self-help groups under the Dina Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihoods Mission. This scheme aims to train women in skills such as making LED bulbs, repairing agricultural drones, and plumbing. It will help women by forming agreements with third parties and assisting with branding and marketing their products. However, the very fact that women will have to form agreements with third parties and assist with branding and marketing their products is an indication that programs such as Namo Drone Didi and Lakhpati Didi are seen as ways to involve women's SHGs in corporate networks, particularly befitting large transactional agribusiness companies allied with the Modi government. Critics argue that while the government claims to create opportunities for women to become wealthy, it neglects their basic needs. By focusing on outcomes rather than funding, the government avoids responsibility for providing essential services to women. Despite grand promises and allocations, the actual expenditure on these schemes has been very poor. Take the PM Awas Yojana rural scheme, which is supposed to empower women by providing them with a share in property ownership. The revised budget estimate for this scheme in 2023 to 24 was about only 50% of the initial budget estimate. Similarly, in the Har Ghar Jal program, which has been marketed as pro-women, the actual government expenditure in 2022 to 2023 was 16% lower than the previous year, and the budgetary estimate for 2024 to 25 is even lower. Only small portions of the allocated fund is actually spent on these programs. And it gets worse. The allocation to the Ministry of Women and Child Development has been around 0.5% of the total budget. The funds for Mission Shakti, combining schemes for protection and empowerment of women, are not even 0.1%, and 70% of the Nirbhaya funds remain unspent. The cherry on top would be the absence of the Beti Bachao campaign, which has seen the most absurd mishandling of funds. 80% of its funds were actually used for advertisements. It was the most popular slogans in the last election, but they haven't even spoken about it this time. The manifesto also talks about increasing women's participation in sports. This cannot be real. I genuinely think this was a typo, especially after what happened last year. 6 wrestlers had accused Brij Bhushan Singh, a Bharatiya Janata Party MP from Uttar Pradesh, of sexual harassment. Complainants alleged that Singh demanded sexual favors for professional help on at least 2 occasions. They had also reported 15 incidents of molestation and other forms of sexual harassment, one of which also included a minor. In January of 2023, a group of Olympians and international wrestlers, including Vinesh Fogart, Sakshi Malik, Bajrang Punia, and others, organized a sit-in demanding disbanding of the federation due to alleged sexual harassment of female wrestlers by Brij Bhushan. Although legal action was taken once the Supreme Court intervened, the protesters, which included Olympic wrestlers, were treated horribly by the police. No action was taken against him. None of the party members had anything to say. Today, Brij Bhushan Singh is a free man, and in fact, his son is actually getting endorsed by our very own Prime Minister Modi during these elections. So, yes, the audacity of claiming to increase women's participation in sports after what just happened is diabolical. The BJP Manifesto also talks about constructing toilets for women under the Swachh Bharat mission. An article by The Print tells us about the different responses of villagers on this relatively new initiative. It seems quite ideal at first, and then we learn about the erratic water supply that some villages face in Gujarat. Similarly, an article by The Wire tells us, quote unquote, Gram Swaraj promises are not yet a reality. In Jaipur, many Dalits do not have houses and functional toilets. In Parampur, the whole village has taps installed, but those taps have no water. In Puregaon, there was no water supply for 2 months when the reporters visited them. Many Dalits and Yadavs lived in mud houses there. Jogapur was actually a Dalit neighborhood separated by Pure Baryapur. While Pure Baryarpur has many amenities, Dalits in Jogapur have no taps. The water in hand pumps is so polluted that no one can see it with bare eyes. The only exception is Kakriya, but villagers say their condition was better even before Modi adopted them. Many have taps, water, and pakka houses. I would also like to talk about the Nari-Shakti Vandan Adhinayam. Its basic motive is to increase political participation of women, especially as candidates in electoral constituencies. This law reserves 1/3 of the seats within 33% quota for women belonging to the SCs and STs. However, its implementation is uncertain as it depends on the publication of a new census and subsequent delimitation of electoral constituencies. Experts suggest that this may be only possible by the 2029 Lok Sabha election or later. Interestingly, the BJP-led NDA has fielded fewer women candidates in Uttar Pradesh this time. Out of 79 declared candidates, only 8 are women, including one from BJP's ally, Apna Dal. This is a decrease compared to the 11 women candidates in both the 2014 and 2019 elections. That is what I called leadership through personal example. There are gaping holes in the BJP manifesto, but the most pivotal question is yet to be asked. What does Hindutva mean for women? We see women breaking feminist stereotypes, holding huge power and influence, crossing lines of class and caste, and we aspire to become like them. On a surface level, most nationalist politicians also want women to be liberated. But there is an underlying patriarchy within this movement that binds women to subservient roles with deep roots in Indian society. Hindu nationalism has traditionally emphasized specific gender norms, particularly the role of women in motherhood. According to this ideology, women are expected to give birth and raise children, ensuring that Hindus are not outnumbered. A recent survey by Pew Research revealed that many Indians, both women and men across all age groups, believe that women should obey their husbands, be the primary caregivers for their children, and that men should have priority for jobs. Alongside regressive gender politics, Hindutva flourishes under Brahminical patriarchy. It has devastating implications on the cultures of Dalits and other minorities. It also exhibits homophobia, transphobia, and Islamophobia. The effects of such extreme ideologies are typically intersectional, impacting multiple marginalized groups simultaneously. I will be covering these effects in later episodes. That is it for this episode. It's funny how I'm recording this during the last phase of the elections. If you're eligible, if you haven't voted, and if there is still time left to vote, you should go cast your vote. Our socials are down below. All the sources that we used for this episode are also mentioned in the show notes. I would really like to take a moment and thank news agencies like The Wire and The Print because I've heavily relied on their research for this episode. Their ground reporting is absolutely amazing. And these are independent news agencies, so thank you so much. Also, a huge thanks to all the What the Feminism listeners. I know there is very little of you, but thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be seeing you very shortly in the next episode. Bye bye.